Hi, thanks for coming by today. I'm here on my porch with my daughters. Gracie Ann is videoing and then Georgia's here, and I love their names. I gave them their names when they were babies, just like somebody gave you your name when you were just a wee baby. And your name makes you special, so be proud of your name. It's part of you. So here's a book called Chrysanthemum, and it's about a little mouse girl and how she got her name and how special it is to her. And it was written by Kevin Hinks. Can you see the picture okay, Gracie Ann? Chrysanthemum. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. Look at her. Aw, her little baby basket. Chrysanthemum. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Oh, look at her. She's getting older, growing up through the years there in those pictures. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. And when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She just loved it. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. See? Chrysanthemum. She's getting some mail. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. Chrysanthemum. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself. Chrysanthemum. Are some of you learning how to write your name? Or do you remember when you were learning how to write your name and how special that was? It was special for Chrysanthemum too. And she wrote it all herself with an orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect. And then she started school. Just like you all started school. There she goes. She's so happy to start school. Look at her. She's skipping along to school. On her first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. Let me see your brightest smile. She was so happy to go to school. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school. But when Mrs. Chud took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. They're all giggling. Kay's giggling, Max is giggling, Bill's giggling, Joe's giggling. Aw, but Chrysanthemum's not giggling. Look at her. Look at her. She's not giggling, is she? It's hurting her feelings, making her sad. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. Wilted means she just kind of shrunk down. And she was sad. Look at her wilting. Like a flower wilts when they don't get enough water or sunshine. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chud that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chud. Now put your head down. Victoria. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum, miserably. Miserably means she's just sad. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School's no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag, and I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful, and precious, and priceless, and fascinating, and winsome, said her father. "It's everything you are," said her mother. "Absolutely perfect," said her father. Oh, she looks like she's been crying. She's rubbing her eyes. Words can hurt, can't they? Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup. An evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. Parcheesi's a game board. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. You seen those pictures okay? Oops. It was an extremely pleasant dream. And Jane just has 4 letters in its name. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She's not in a hurry to get there, and she's definitely not smiling. She dragged her feet in the dirt. "Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum," she wrote. "She even looks like a flower," said Victoria as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. "Let's pick her," said Rita, pointing. "Let's smell her," said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. Dreadful is a big word that means bad or horrible. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, "A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things." "Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria," said Mrs. Chudd. "Now put your head down." "I cannot believe your name," Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. "Neither can I," thought Chrysanthemum miserably. "Welcome home," said her mother. "Welcome home," said her father. "School is no place for me," said Chrysanthemum. "They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me." "Oh, pish," said her mother. "They're just jealous and envious, begrudging and discontented and jaundiced," said her father. "Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours?" said her mother. "After all, it's absolutely perfect," said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals by one until, oh, we have a visitor. One by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. Maybe that, do you see that cat? There's a cat on my porch.
Yeah, right here.
I think we should name it Chrysanthemum. What do you think?
No.
Hi, kitty. I don't know that cat. Hi, Chrysanthemum. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. She really doesn't want to get to school, does she? Chrysanthemum, 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 the flowers seem to say. Go around that way and close that door. We don't want our kitty going in our house.
Yeah.
Or not our kitty. That's not our kitty. Chrysanthemum. Thanks for visiting. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher, like Mrs. Arnold at East Elementary and Mrs. Rittenhouse at General Shakes. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. Look at her, Mrs. Twinkle. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder, like most music teachers are. They went out of their way to make a nice impression, make her think they wanted her to think good things about them. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. La 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 la. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Joe was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger, and Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy, Joe, Rita, Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" asked Mrs. Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name is so long," said Joe. "It scarcely fits on her name tag," said Rita, pointing at her name. I'm named after a grandmother, said Victoria. She's named after a flower. Oh, bless you. My name is long, said Mrs. Twinkle. It is, said Joe. My name would scarcely fit on a name tag, said Mrs. Twinkle. It would, said Rita, pointing. And, said Mrs. Twinkle, I'm named after a flower too. You are? Said Victoria. Yes, said Mrs. Twinkle. My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect. Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed. She beamed. She bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Joe, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. Call me Marigold, said Joe. I'm Carnation, said Rita, pointing. My name is Lily of the Valley, said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. Epilogue. That's like what happened after the story. Overall, the musical was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made the only mistake. She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny, and they all giggled throughout the entire Dance of the Flowers. Eventually, Mrs. Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. The end. So, the message, the theme of that story, do you know what it is? Be proud of yourself. Be proud of what makes you you. If you have a name that's different, be proud of that. If you have a special little giggle that's different than everybody else's, be proud of that too. Or a special way of dressing, you be proud of that. Whatever makes you you, makes you different, be proud of it. Thanks for coming by. See you next time.